The plant kingdom is full of wonders. Plants exist in various shapes, incredible colors, subtle fragrances, and downright frightening. As nothing happens by chance, the strange character of certain plants arouses fear or mystery. From the one that shoots its seeds to the one that sets itself on fire, stay with us as we are looking at 10 of the freakiest plants in the world. Found in Europe to southwestern Siberia and western Himalaya, there's a good reason why Dictamnus albus is known as gas plant. In the heat of summer, parts of this plant would exude an oily substance that smells much like the lemon. And the properties of these oils is that they are highly volatile. So volatile, in fact, if someone takes a match to this plant on a hot day, the oils covering its tissues will ignite in a flash. These oils burn off so quickly that it is of no consequence to the plant. It goes on growing like nothing ever happened. It has been identified that a highly flammable organic compound within the oils called isoprene is the one that causes this phenomenon. In plants, isoprenes are thought to protect against heat stress. This is bolstered by the fact that this plant typically produces these compounds during summer only. And since the plant is not hurt by the quick burst of flames, it simply hasn't had any reason to evolve a less flammable alternative. Native to Europe, northern Africa, and temperate areas of Asia, Ecballium elaterium is often considered an invasive species. One of the main reasons for this is because of its ingenious way to spread its seeds. After several weeks of growing, the fruits of this plant would be full of pressure despite their tiny size. This pressure is caused by the increment in the concentration of glucoside called elaterinidin. And all it takes is a bit of vibration for these fruits to explode and squirt their seeds away. And these seeds can travel up to 95 kilometers per hour when this happens. This is why this plant is famously known as the squirting cucumber. By squirting their seeds away, the seedlings don't have to compete for nutrients and sunlight with their parent. Located in Natal, Brazil, the cashew tree of Pirangi has been dubbed as the world's largest cashew tree. In fact, this whole forest is made up of one single tree. Planted in 1888 by a local fisherman, this tree now covers about 7,500 square meters, with a perimeter of about 500 meters. It has been identified that there are two reasons why this tree is able to grow this big. One, its branches would grow to the side instead of upward. And the second anomaly is kind of freaky. The side-growing branches eventually get so heavy that they touch the ground. But instead of just resting there, these branches would sprout roots, where the newly rooted branch then starts growing upward as if it was a new tree. During harvest time, it's estimated that this single tree produces more than 60,000 cashew fruits. One of 6 stinging trees native to Australia and also found in Indonesia, the gimpy-gimpy may look like an ordinary plant, but a closer look will reveal its fine hairs on the leaves and stem, and these hairs contain potent venom that is capable of releasing neurotoxins if lodged in the skin. In fact, it can even trigger an intense allergic reaction in its victims and possibly causing anaphylactic shock. The sting can cause excruciating, debilitating pain for months, where people have variously described it as feeling like they are being burned by acid, electrocuted, or squashed by giant hands. Many people have reported flare-ups of the pain for many years afterward, and there are several accounts of horses mad with pain, jumping off cliffs to their death after being stung. In addition, foresters and scientists working around the plant are required to wear respirators and thick protective clothing, and are armed with antihistamine pills as a precautionary measure. Native to tropical regions of North and South America, Hura crepitans or sandbox tree is truly a spectacular plant. Its trunk is covered with long, sharp spikes that secretes poisonous sap. On contact with your skin, the sap can cause a nasty red skin rash. As a matter of fact, fishermen have been said to use the milky, caustic sap from this tree to poison fish, and the Caribs would make arrow poison from this sap. In addition to that, when scattering its seeds, the plant's pumpkin-shaped fruits would explode with a loud bang and split into segments to launch the seeds at a speed of about 43 meters per second and disperse the seeds as far as 50 meters away from the parent tree. Because of this, the plant has been dubbed as the dynamite tree. Native to East Africa, Vachellia drepanolobium, or commonly known as whistling thorn, is an acacia species that can produce sound. Growing up to 6 meters tall, this tree basically produces a pair of straight spines for defense at each node, with some of which have large, bulbous bases. And certain species of ants would use these bulbous spines for shelter. By having these entry and exit holes, the bulbous spines would create a whistling noise when wind blows over. And in exchange for the shelter and nectar secretions from this tree, the ants would defend the plant against herbivores. And because the ants compete for exclusive usage of a given tree, some species would trim the buds of these trees to reduce their lateral growth, thereby reducing chances of contact with a neighboring tree occupied by a rival colony. Catasetum is a genus of epiphytic orchids from Central and South America that have evolved a very unique way to pollinate their flowers. It all starts how male Catasetum orchid flowers are able to produce scents that can attract orchid bees. Attracted to the scent, the bee unknowingly visits the flower to check it out. But the moment the bee sticks its head inside the flower, the orchid's trigger would be touched, enabling the flower to stick a bundle of pollen grains on the bee's back. From this moment, the bee will carry the pollen around until it visits a nearby female flower. Upon receiving the bee's visit, the female flower now has access to the pollen grains from the bee's back, and thus completing the pollination. Found all over the world in bogs, marshes, and fens, sundews have evolved a very effective way to trap insects for nutrients. The sundews have developed mucilaginous glands all over their leaves, where these stalks would produce blobs of sticky mucus that tend to be loaded with sugars that lure insects to them. But from the moment an insect lands on any of these blobs, it is lost. If struggling to be released from one tentacle, the insect will connect with the others, thus trapping itself more thoroughly. And in addition to this, the tentacles themselves are also mobile. They are able to move toward the insect until it is entirely trapped and covered. In some species, the entire leaf would curl around the trapped prey to ensure it cannot escape. Apart from that, the sweet mucus, which first got the insect to land, also contains the enzymes which will digest it, giving this plant required nutrients for survival. Native to large areas of southern and eastern Africa, Hydnora africana is arguably the weirdest plant on this planet. What seems like a fruit is actually the entire plant itself. It has no roots, leaves, or chlorophyll, and it lives entirely underground. This plant would behave like a subterranean vampire by using suckers on its stem to draw out juices from the roots of other plants, typically the members of genus Euphoria. The only sign of the plant above ground is when the flower bud bursts up, swells and opens its shocking pink bloom. Interestingly, the flower's stench and bright pink color are an irresistible draw for flies and dung beetles, which are probably tricked into thinking it's an animal carcass. And if these insects enter the floral chamber, The hairy fringes around its entrance would bend inwards to prevent them from escaping. Only once the insects have picked up pollen, its entrance would reopen to allow the captives to flee, hence allowing pollination to happen. Primarily found in the temperate areas of Europe and the Mediterranean basin, rock roses are typically a striking feature of the Mediterranean hillside in spring, and with aromatic oils in the leaves, these shrubs have been long used in the perfume industry. Surprisingly though, if the temperature raises to 32 degrees centigrade, those oils can spontaneously burst into flame. And this phenomenon is not a disastrous accident, but for the benefits of its own species. In other words, these plants have evolved to sacrifice themselves to ensure the survival of their offspring. As a matter of fact, the fire not only stimulates their seeds to germinate, but destroys the other plants in the surrounding area.